Okay, so first things first. It should be that over the summer you've been kind of getting prepared, getting yourself ready, things like that. And I'm really hoping that you're kind of raring to go, ready for the term to start. So you have told me about your college choice. So really important. Medics, obviously, it's different. But if you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge, make sure you've told me about your college choice, because I wouldn't suggest that two students apply to the same course at the same college. It would mean that you were competing against one another. So I wouldn't want that. And you've drafted your personal statement and you're taking it to your reach teacher. It should be your passion for the subject. It doesn't tell me that you're passionate. You shouldn't be saying, I'm passionate about this, or I'm fascinated. Or you can say, I'm fascinated by this, but then show me why, what you've done because of that interest. And so that's really, really important. And you have done lots of supercurricular reading. So really important, lots of sixth forms, school sixth forms that don't have the expertise we have. They would only just have started reading. You have known about this since January, so it's really important that you have done lots of supercurricular thinking, reading. You started with webinars and podcasts, and you've got on to some really meaty texts or some really meaty maths. Or for your medic subject, you should have been doing consistent work experience. So really important that you have been doing that supercurricular. And Oxford and Cambridge and medical universities are quite accepting of some students from really poor sixth form colleges that haven't got a great record of results, a great record of helping people go to top universities, top apprenticeships, but that isn't the case for us, and that's really important. They've just published, as of about a week ago, in the Spectator, the schools and the sixth forms around the country that are most successful at getting kids into Oxbridge, and Hereford Sixth Form College is up there with the best private schools in the country. That's because only the right kids go. You know, we know that Oxbridge isn't some magically better education, but it means there are no excuses. So really, we've got to make sure we are really aiming high. And it's really important that you have looked at the college that you are applying to, and if they have any additional things, any additional admissions tests, what grade requirements. This is really important, particularly for Cambridge. Each Cambridge college has slightly, or can have slightly different admissions requests. Some have an admissions test at interview for human, social and political sciences, others don't. Some ask for slightly higher grades, although the reality is you should be aiming for top grades. So really make sure that you found out if you've got an admissions test. I had a student last year who on the 17th of October told me they should have had an admissions test the next day, and they hadn't signed up for it in September. And I think I had sent 12 emails to say, do check, go along to the exams office, find out if you have an admissions test. If in doubt, go and ask the exams office, register for the tests. So really important. I won't check. I cannot check for all. So far, I think we're at 47 different subjects that you're applying for. So this is how the year works out. You've got out your certificates and you're putting your GCSE subjects or any ASs you've done or any A levels you've done in alphabetical order on your UCAS form. It doesn't matter if they're not alphabetical order, it just helps us processing. But you've put all the grades that you have achieved, including music and DAV or dance or drama, all on your UCAS form. And if it's a musical qualification, you just put the highest one. Don't put grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3 piano, just put grade 3 piano. All right, so really important. You are preparing your UCAS form. You're putting your details on there, etc. We'll talk more about that specifics later. At the moment, you're writing, and in the next week or so, you'll be finalising your personal statement. You'll be taking it to your reach teacher, perhaps to a head of department if they are willing or able. And then I or Phil will check it over very, very finally. So you'll be doing your admissions tests in October. You may have to send off written work. I'm going to talk about that later. If you're applying to Cambridge, you do the My Cambridge application. There's a whole website about that. You then have mock interviews in very late November if you get called to interview. So you get mock interviews. You will organise them with an appropriate head of department. So if it's maths, it'll be Joe, or English literature, it would be Helen Williams, who's the head of lit. Or alternatively, if it's not clear who is going to be doing a mock interview for you, ask me And I do lots of them, and I call in lots of favours. And so you have a really good mock interview to prepare you. You may have a real interview in December, but meanwhile, you are working for your A-levels, which are in 9 months. 9 months, and you're sitting your A-levels. I know it's exciting. You have December mocks this December at the same time as having interviews. You have March mocks, and then your exams start in May. You may also have coursework subjects. So this is really important. You should only be going for Oxbridge because it's so much more work. If you are happy that you're going to be getting those A's and A stars, you've learned through Reach that Oxbridge is not some magically better education. Bath, Bristol, Warwick, Cardiff, Birmingham, Durham, UCL, Imperial. There are so many world-class universities available to you. You should only be going for Oxbridge knowing that it's incredibly tough to get in. If you are happy that it's going to be a lot of extra work and you are willing to be organised, you're willing to put yourself through what is quite a grueling process because you want that type of tuition. You want that type of teaching. You don't go for Oxbridge because of the kudos. Who cares? You could go to Durham, it's amazing. You don't go to Oxbridge for anything else other than you want that style of teaching and you know it's a tough, tough call. The other thing is, you know that you would be having an education amongst people who do have all A stars and didn't find A levels too much of a struggle. And that's why they wanted the extra challenge of that one-to-one tuition. Really important thing is this. The last thing I want is for you to go through this year and perhaps get an Oxbridge offer and then not get your wonderful grades that you are capable of, that you are so bright and so brilliant because you put yourself under too much. So that's my worry. Don't overload yourself, be organised. If last year you were on steady D's and C's, it might be a bit of a struggle. So really important, if your teachers are a bit worried, I don't want you to overload yourself. We can always apply to other world-class universities later. An EPQ. If you're doing an EPQ, that's fantastic, but it isn't necessary for Oxbridge. So if that puts you under additional pressure, that's something we should talk about because you must get your 3 A levels on top grades. Let's talk tests and dates specifically. The LNAT and the UCAT done at test centres. They must be booked before the 15th of September and taken before the 16th of October. The 18th of October is the BMAT for medicine, biomedical sciences, etc. The ENGA for engineering, NSAA for natural sciences, TMUA for maths, computer science, and various other subjects, and the TSA for Oxford. And quite a few people have 2. So quite a few people might have the TMUA and the TSA. I think that's economics and management people, but I'm not absolutely sure. You might have TSA 1 or TSA 2. So you should have found out about that. Then the 19th of October is classics, English, the new geography test, and the MAT. Then the 20th of October is the history, the modern languages for Oxford, the physics for Oxford, and the philosophy test. Most of the 19th and in fact, the 19th and 20th, none of those are for Cambridge because Cambridge don't tend to ask for those early ones except for the 18th ones. So Cambridge often does a test if you get to interview. All right. So the 19th and the 20th are both those. The 19th, 20th are the Oxford ones, but sometimes Cambridge ask you for one at interview. So those are important dates. And you register with the exams office on college. Right, how do you do this? So walk down the driveway of college and on the left, you will notice there's some cars parked and there's a kind of jutting out kind of entranceway. That's the exams office. Pop in there when you've looked at what tests your college requires or what tests you need to sit, or email exams@hereford.ac.uk. Use your college email to register, please. And the exams office are amazing at organising all of the admissions tests, all of your extra time and your anything additional that you might need for exams. They organise it for you. So if you get 25% extra time, yes, you get it for admissions tests. So they are absolutely fantastic. But start registering. The registration opened on the 1st for admissions tests. You must prepare. So let's talk specifics. You've already done lunchtime sessions on this with either Phil or myself before the summer. Do past papers in the main, particularly for the maths and science papers. Right, maths and the science ones are often about time pressure. They're often kind of GCSE or AS level maths or science, so they're not actually particularly difficult, although I have to say people come out of the MAT, the PAT, and the STEP finding it pretty brutally hard. But it's often about time pressure. If you had 5 hours to do the natural science admissions test, you'd have plenty of time, but you've got about 3. So the reality is it's about, can you process a lot of information at speed? Because they're asking you to do a lot of work quite fast at Oxford and Cambridge before you come to your tutorial or your supervision with someone who's world leading expert in that subject. So there's looking at whether you enjoy new stuff at speed. So it's often about time pressure rather than much harder than A levels. In fact, it's usually not much harder than A levels, it's the pace or the kind of style of the questions. They are not lending themselves for ease. So some like the TSA, a critical thinking test, this is the same as the LNAT. You should have done some prep for this, and this is really important that you are really well prepared for the TSA. Critical thinking is absolutely vital. There's a book in the library. In fact, we have quite a few of the test books in the library. And then the TSA, you have an essay when your brain is fried with multiple choice critical thinking. The humanities ones. We've already talked about this, so I'm just going back over this to make sure we're secure, but humanities-based ones are about genuine interest. So for example, you can't actually prepare by doing past papers, it's just worth looking at past papers. They may give you a piece of history or a piece of art or a poem or lots of pieces of literature that you've never come across, and they'll ask you to write about it and see how you enjoy it. And the reality is they're just trying to see, have you just sat in English literature and is that all you've done for a year? Or do you read and think about history or philosophy beyond the subject? Is it you just sit in lessons and enjoy that? That's brilliant, but that isn't necessarily the super curricular thinking they want. So to a certain extent, the humanities ones are about whether you have actually done geography in your spare time, then thinking about different topics, and crucially, do you enjoy doing new things? All of the admissions tests to a certain extent. Yes, you can prepare a little bit, particularly for maths and sciences. It's worth kind of learning how the TSA similarly, but genuinely they are asking whether you enjoy your subject at a really high level, independently, thinking for yourself, thinking out of the box differently. And if the answer is yes, and you write an interesting essay about that history or that geography or that history, or you write an interesting essay about a piece of law that they asked you or a philosophical question they've asked you, or you've had a good stab at quite a lot of maths questions which are completely different to maths A level, then you'll be fine. These are going to be hard. In fact, the intention is that they are tough. Otherwise, how will they weed out someone who's getting 3 A stars from the other person who's getting 3 A stars? How will they know? Since every single student applying to Cambridge or Oxford has at least 3 A's and generally a lot higher. How do they know? So this is really important. And you will do well at this because you are independent and you've been preparing since January. Written work. Right. Lots of essay subjects will ask you for written work. Each college asks for different things. This is quite a complex one. As soon as you send off your UCAS, you will get an email saying, we've just received your UCAS. And you're like, oh, how exciting. My UCAS has gone off. They then may say, right, we'd like to see an example of your composition for music or your written work for English, and we'd like it to be this. We'd like 2 essays. I don't think I've ever had 3 essays, but they ask for 1 or 2. And they will set the parameters. This is very important. They will not want it to, in fact, they will not let you rewrite it for the purpose of a Cambridge or Oxford interview. And particularly if you've then got an admissions test, you want it to match the work you produce then. If the written work you send off is absolutely incredible, and then in the ELAT, you write what's natural, bit of gobbledygook, and then really good, they'll wonder whether it was actually rewritten, and they will literally not interview you if they think it's been rewritten for the sake of this process. In fact, they like it. They usually ask for marked work. And they like it if your teachers have been mean, which obviously if you've met any of your teachers, you're like, well, that's a relief because I've never had higher than a band 3 in English, because English literature, Vicky, you're mean. Okay, so they actually like it if your teachers are being mean and blunt on it. So actually an essay that was a good stab at something, but your teacher has still been like, this is okay, but actually the argument here could have been tighter. It wasn't quite really clearly focused upon the source. Here, this is a little bit wordy, or the terminology used isn't appropriate. They would much prefer us as teachers to be mean than us to be writing on it, this is the best thing I've ever read. That would be a big red flag as to whether we were giving you honest, predicted grades. They much prefer, they will ask likely for written work that has been marked. They generally do not accept a whole piece of coursework. So for those of you doing history, they generally do not accept a whole piece of coursework. So they want it to generally be a bit of a piece of coursework for history or a class essay. They would much prefer it to be in time, and you have to fill out a front sheet. It's worth being organised on that and getting yourself sorted. As soon as you've got the email about written work, get organised, because you'll need a front sheet to be signed by the teacher who marked it. If you apply to My Cambridge, there's a whole process that you fill out about what exam specs you did, what your cohort's like, how big your class is, things like that. It's a really nice process. I'll explain a little bit more, but there's a whole website about that. And a lesson about email. So really important. About 3 years ago, I had a student who was applying for an arts subject. They emailed them and asked them to send off 2 essays. And he didn't really check his emails and wasn't very organised. Anyway, they gave him a week to send the emails off. He missed the deadline. And they then emailed him again and said, we haven't had your written work. Please, could you submit it via PDF? He then missed that email and thankfully got hold of me the next day in a huge stress, 2 days late. He sent a very apologetic email to his college, sent off his written work, and they basically said that they were really unhappy. So he did actually get an offer because he must have done well, but I really would say it's worth being organised with these things. In the careers lessons, you attended a session on UCAS and UCAS Apply. You got a handout with college buzzword, and you've hopefully put yourself in the Oxbridge or Medics group. If you haven't, don't worry. If you need that PDF again, email careers and Bev will send you the PDF. All right, so if you have lost the buzzword or whatever, very important. On your UCAS form, nominate access. Please write that down. If on results day, for whatever reason, you're on the phone to Oxford or Bath and Birmingham, the 2 universities are your top 2 choices, and this is actually a tip for everyone in the entire second year. If you are, let's say, trying to get into Durham and you're also trying to get hold of Bristol, your 2 choices, if you haven't nominated access, they will only speak to you. And so actually, if 2 of you are on hold and suddenly one person answers the phone and the other one then answers the phone, the university will not speak to anyone who's not on your UCAS form. So please nominate access of someone who is perhaps a parent or a carer to yourself. Someone who you trust, who would be with you on results day, who could phone UCAS or phone your universities. It's absolutely vital you nominate access. Fill out your UCAS form correctly, get the certificates out, check your booklets, please put your qualifications in correctly so you put the right levels. A level 2 is different from a level 3, Welsh back, all the different qualifications you have. Please put them in right. And check your portal for your exam boards at 6th form. Put them on as the date of August 2024. Really important to either take a photo of that or write that down. So check your portal, for example, which exam board you will be doing, ask your teachers. These will be August 2024. All right, obviously you might have done one subject this summer, but the rest will be next year. Next week's complete UCAS using all the online guides, all about me. Very important. If you've got physical health, mental health, any extra time needs, anything else that's gone on in your life, the universities want to know. And they're actually, it's so fantastic how supportive they are. So there's boxes for physical health, mental health, disruption to your education. If necessary, you can put it all under one box. So for example, if you've got mental and physical health, or something's gone on, or you don't live with your parents or carers, or there's something gone on where your education has been disrupted, aside from COVID, then put it all in there. They much prefer them to know. All right, so just tell them about your experiences, and just that's fantastic. And then they can put in place the support you might need, particularly, for example, extra time goes in there. Then on the UCAS form, you've got about work or jobs, any qualifications we haven't seen, Bev will need to see. So if you've got any qualifications in the last couple of years, so music, you've done your grade 5 at something, you've done a lovely dance qualification, or lots of you are doing D of E. If you've got a qualification that you're working towards, you can put it as pending. And so you can say, I'm going to be doing my grade 6 singing in January. You put it as January 2024. and we will predict you a pass or something. If we've looked at your past qualifications, we'll predict you a pass. If you're working towards your goal DV, the same. You could put it as whenever you're hoping to finish it, and we will say they're likely to pass it. But otherwise, you need to bring in those certificates, because we have to be able to say, we have seen every certificate, either when you came at the beginning of the first year, or we have had eyes on every certificate that's on your form. It's a really big thing. We have to legally say we are not lying. So we cannot send off your UCAS if we haven't seen those certificates. Your reference. Your teachers have finished or written your reference, and they've drafted predicted grades onto the portal. So speak to last year's teachers about your reference and say, "Dear Chan, did you by any chance manage to fill out my reference after I got my A at the end of last year?" And he will probably say, "Yes, I did." So speak to last year's teachers. If they have left for any reason, just see your new teacher or email me. So see your teachers to chat about your reference, make a time with them, email them and say, "Hi, Helen Conway, would it be possible to speak about my reference? And could I speak to you about my predicted grade and my reference? When would suit you?" They're going to write something short and specific about why you're good at the subject. What about if your teacher's worried? Okay. First things first, if your teacher says, "I'm not sure I'm ready to predict you those grades, come and see me." So if you're not ready to be predicted these really, really high grades, you will apply in November to other world-class universities. No one goes off to Durham or Warwick or Exeter thinking they're not having a world-class education. They are. They are having a world-class education. You may just need more time to get assessments under your belt, to get that work. That's fine. All right. Or the other possibility is you say to your teacher, "I know my history mock at the end of the last year, Jenny, was a bomb. I got a D. All year I've been getting top Bs. Can I give an essay? Can I do or see if you can do an essay, an assessment to show your teacher you're on for those grades. And I can wait. I can wait if needs be." Another possibility is this. You apply on a gap year. Now, what's interesting is gap year students are increasingly successful at applying to all of the top universities that include Oxford and Cambridge. In fact, I have just uploaded to my YouTube a student who had a gap year and is now doing computer science at Cambridge. So the old adage of, "Oh, for math subjects, they don't like it," is an absolute nonsense. He had a really fantastic, he did voluntary work in his gap year. He did a bit of work for a computing company. He had a gap year. Gone are the days when they thought, "Oh, you'll lose all your math skills." So it is really important that gap years means you would apply with your results in hand. If you desperately want to go for Oxbridge because you want that style of teaching, you could always come and see me on results day, as lots of students do, and say, "I've now got my 3 A's or above. I would really like to go for Oxbridge on my gap year." Fantastic. And actually, they are a lot more successful than students who apply with just predicted grades, because you will have your grades. Timeline. So this is what it looks like for me. So for example, your teachers have, generally speaking, put in predicted grades, but they need to tick the box saying grade finalized, but that's what it looks like to me on the portal. Okay, so I can see what your teachers have given you so far, but they need to tick the grade finalized box. So that's what it looks like to me, but most teachers have filled those out. So I think I might be ready, Vicky. This is the next stage. You've completed your UCAS. You've put your past qualifications. Bev seen any new ones like your DV. You've put your pending qualifications for next summer as August 2024. Your personal statement has been checked by me or your Reach teacher. You've taken out line spaces and it's on your UCAS form. It's perfect and you have checked the spellings in it. You've seen your teachers from last year or new ones if they've left to tweak your reference. Then you wait for it, you click submit and send, and you pay. Don't panic. It's just come to Phil or me, all right? Don't be like, "It's come to me." Okay, it comes to my advisor's portal. All right, so don't worry. It's in a holding pen with me. This is the big bit, all right? Only now. Go to your portal and you go to documents. You go to your predicted grade form. Print it if you can, double-sided. It doesn't need to be in colour, just print it out, all right? And you take your predicted grade, oh, excuse me, if possible, if you could put your UCAS ID number, your personal number on the top. It's super helpful, but if you forget, it doesn't matter. All right. So you print off your predicted grade form, put your UCAS ID on the top of it, and you put on, there's a bit box that says course choice. You put your subject, which Oxford or Cambridge, and the college. So it'd be Cambridge, English, Gondolin Keys. All right, so you put that on there. Don't worry if you forget that bit. Then this is the big one. You then take your predicted grade form to your teachers from last year. And that's the order. So you've clicked it, it's come to Phil or me, print your PGF and take it to your teachers from last year to fill it out. So they sign it and put that final predicted grade on there. You don't need to go to your tutor. If you apply to Oxford or Cambridge, Phil or myself are your tutors. All right, so you see all your teachers at times that suit them. You see Joe in maths, then you go and see Emma in psychology, go and see Eveline in biology, and then you bring it to me once it has been signed with all of your predicted grades. You bring it to a box in careers by Bev's desk. All right, don't worry, she's got a big box, got a sign on it. It's been there for a week already. You go, hello, Bev. What do I do with this? And she'll say, put it in the box, put it in the box. All right. So don't worry, she's lovely, you know, Bev. So you bring it to Bev, put it in her box, who will start by checking and verifying your qualifications. What happens then? Bev processes your qualifications. It's highly likely you've got one wrong. Sorry, most people have one wrong. She has to verify every single qualification you have on there. So we have to have seen everyone. And then if all the qualifications are correct, it comes to Phil or myself to continue processing. I check the whole form, your date of birth, all of the information about you. I check your personal statement. I read your personal statement for one last time. I then go to the reference on the college portal and I put your reference on the form. All right. I put your reference on your UCAS. If there are no issues, to check the whole thing takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours per form, and there are 90 of you. All right, so you can see how much time that takes. I then have to sign it in 4 different places to verify that I'm not lying, that you're not lying, and to say that yes, we're happy for them to check it for AI and plagiarism, and it goes off. And once I have clicked it, I can't get it back. All right. So the most important thing is click submit and send, and then PGF to Bev. So click submit and send, and then bring your PGF to Bev. So what happens if something goes wrong? Most students get something wrong on the form. You're quite normal. Wrong date of birth. I know, really. You would think that people would realise they're not 3. They forget to nominate access, or you've put on the wrong exam board, or you've put yourself off having done level 3s when actually you did level 2s. Or there's an error in your personal statement. I once had a student who was applying for physics who said that machine, when it was made, was out by a centimetre, and he meant a millimetre. You would not get into Oxford if you were talking about a machine that was out by a millimetre and you wrote a centimetre. That's literally 10 times the difference. You know, that would just be not okay. So those things are really important. What do? We return the form to your portal if there's any errors, so we can return it to you so you can work on it. We text, we email, you sort the issue and then you click submit and send again. You don't pay again, all right? Don't leave a lesson or anything. Don't leave a lesson, but just sort it out as soon as you can. And then I start the process again, checking it all through. Okay, let's talk about next Wednesday's deadline. Very important. It's a soft deadline, okay? What I would quite like is I'd like a few UCAS forms in each day, maybe 2, 3 a day. It's a soft deadline. I would prefer your UCAS and your personal statement to be perfect than in on the day. This is not like English or history coursework, which that's the deadline. This is a soft deadline. If you need an extra week to sit an exam or do another test for Chun or someone. Okay, so I'd much prefer your UCAS to be perfect. Just let me know if it needs to be in a bit late. If you've got, for example, another open day at another fantastic university you're considering, that's fine too. All right, so just let me know. But I have to say, by the beginning of October, so by the end of the month, we are running quite late. to get that done and sorted so I can check everything. So really important. We do try and get it in the next couple of weeks. The second reason why I have the deadline so early is I actually want you to get cracking on your A levels. I don't want this hanging over you. I need you to be able to hit the ground running with your psychology, with your philosophy and ethics, with your physics, with your further maths. I don't want this hanging over you for 2 weeks and taking your mind off the A levels that will get you into all of your unis. Hurrah, it's gone. What next? You'll get notification from Oxford or Cambridge with stuff to do. You might get written work, don't miss any deadlines. The Cambridge application, it's got its own website. Don't put off my Cambridge application, look it up. To do my Cambridge application, you need your UCAS ID number, a passport-style digital photo of yourself, and detail of your units. So like modules, whether you're doing stats or mechanics, or the papers you're taking. So for example, English literature, you're doing paper 1 is drama, paper 2 is prose, things like that. Or for example, if you're doing modern history, what are the papers you're taking? Prep for the tests. It's really important that as soon as you've sent it off, prep for your tests. I said before the summer you need to do about 60 hours. Really important to check out any webinars. Lucy Cavendish have got loads of recorded webinars about the whole process. Jesus College Oxford have a really good YouTube channel that I actually do trust. I talked about this before the summer. So do prep for your tests, particularly for the maths and science ones. You humanities people should already be reading articles and learning about wolves and, rewilding and things anyway. Not obviously for history necessarily, but, if wolves were part of your history interest, that's fine. Settle into term, prep for tests if you have them. Once your UCAS is gone, get on with your subjects. If you get invited for interviews, it happens mid to late November, so get your work in hand now. Don't get behind. You should view this term as a full-time job. Go to workshops, get ahead. If you get to interview, there will be about a week or so when your work will be a bit on a back burner. Prepare for this mentally. So it is a case that in those 2 weeks, if you get an interview, you have to go to your teachers and just apologise and say, I'm really sorry. I've got an interview for PPE. I'm so sorry, Claire. Just for 2 weeks, I'm going to have to take my eye off the ball a little bit. And if you've been fantastic all term, your teachers will be fine about that. Absolutely fine. If you came to me and said, Vicky, I'm so sorry. I've got a maths interview next week. I'm going to be really busy with that. I'd say absolutely fine. Don't worry too much. Just do what you can of English this week, okay? Because you will have been fantastic all term. I will help you prepare. We've got a big session with Cambridge and Oxford. Don't worry about that at all. Medics have loads of prep with Phil, but everyone's invited to a big session in November. Do not worry about interviews. It's just one step in the process. We'll help you about that later in the term. So UCAS submitted, personal statement, you've seen your tutors, put predicted grade form, submit written work, my Cambridge, read emails, prep for tests, do your work. October, you have admissions tests, mid-November interview, December online interviews, except for a couple of colleges at Cambridge, excuse me. Second week of January, and then you still have to get the grades, okay? You'll be offered places at other world-class universities. You have to get the top flight grades regardless. You won't get a pity place to any university, and particularly not from Hereford Sixth Form College, one of the best of the best. So they want you to be aiming for world-class grades, and all the top unis do, and they're all wonderful. If you sat your maths this summer, really important you contact me if you've got any questions about that. It is a conversation I'm going to have with all of the universities. So if you sat your maths this summer and you've got any thoughts about that, a lot of the top universities want you to be sitting 3 A levels in your second year that are not resits. Some universities will be fine with it, but a lot won't look that favourably upon you doing 2 and a resit, purely because they see it as you can only work for 2 at a time, sit 2 at a time, prepare for 2 at a time, when actually they want you to be sitting 3. So the very, very competitive universities will still want you to be taking your further maths or another A level. If you've got any questions about maths, particularly if you need grade boundaries, anything like that, please be in touch with me. And it is something I am going to be in touch with the universities about on your behalf as well. So when do you pay the UCAS charge? You pay it when you submit and send. Okay, so you pay that when you press submit and send. So that is when you pay for the UCAS. Oh, good question. If you want to take a gap year, if you want to take a gap year, my instinct would be if you're not going to find it too stressful, then apply this year knowing that I'm going to be taking a gap year. You can apply with a deferred entry, which means I'm applying now, but I want to take a gap year and then come to uni. However, if it is going to be hugely stressful for you to go through the process, and actually it might mean that you underachieve at the end of next year, go through normal application to other universities, because you will get offers, because you're all amazing, absolutely amazing. You're going to be getting top flight grades and you'll get fantastic offers. So if, let's say, you get offers from fabulous universities, Cardiff, Bristol, Bath, Durham, UCL, and at the end of the summer you think, I still wish I was going to go for Oxbridge. You literally just drop your uni places on results day and apply again. And you would be in touch with me after results day. I'll check your personal statement. We'll have Teams chats. It doesn't make any difference. Once a Hereford Sixth Form College student, always a Hereford Sixth Form College student, whether you are on site or on your gap year or gap years. And this is massive. It doesn't matter. I don't treat you any differently if you are on site or on a gap year. You still get the same support from Phil or myself. Okay. So don't be put off. If you want to wait, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. They look at your predicted grades and they look at Hereford Sixth Form College, and we are not generous in our predictions. You've met us, right? Or we are absolutely not generous in our predictions. That's really important for you to know. You go with a world-class reputation of honesty, brutal honesty, actually. And so that's really positive. They know you will likely get your predicted grades if we think you're going to get them. They will look at your admissions test. They will look at your GCSEs, but they take them into context if something went awry or you went to a school that was really struggling. So they look at everything. It is not just one thing. And then if they invite you to interview, that's just one part. So do you indicate you're submitting on the portal or UCAS? Good question. No, you don't need to indicate that you're submitting. I will see it. Every morning I come in, I check my UCAS advisors portal, I see which ones have come in. I go to Bev and say, hey, Bev, how are the qualifications going? She goes, well, this kid put on their washback as a level 2, as a level blah, blah, blah. She says, yeah, these ones are ready. And I start checking them. So you don't need to tell me. Just let me know if you're going to be very late after the date. Just say, Vicky, I'm doing this, or I've got this on, or I'm running a few days late. No problem. Ooh, which Russell Group universities give lower offers to Hereford Sixth Form College students? Birmingham and Bristol. And Cardiff, generally speaking, really, really like us. It is the most popular university for our students, and Russell Group, so world class. But Birmingham and Bristol give us contextual offers. Woohoo! Anyway, I am so excited to see you all. I've been back since results day, so it's going to be so nice to see you all. And obviously all the first years are on site, but as soon as you're back, get going. Go to workshops, be a joiner, be a geek. Isn't it cool? So just work your socks off, get going, and throw yourself into the next 9 months. It's awesome. Start next week feeling like you're ready. All right. You're amazing, guys. You're amazing. I'll see you soon.